Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast, episode 60 for September 12th, 2023.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Well, hello there, children. Welcome back to your weekly freak show. That is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More podcast. I am Matt, along with the always lovely Coach Amy. How are you, my love? Happy September.
It is September.
We've already done a podcast in September, so...
But,
did we? I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but we're just... No, actually, the last date
you're
on
right.
here was August 28th.
Oh,
so happy September. Yes. Can you believe it? That we're already almost halfway through the month?
You're well into pumpkin spice season, Amy. You're not necessarily a pumpkin spicer. I mean, you like it. You're not like one of these, like...
I used to be when I was... I mean,
A lot of sugar in that, kids. A lot of sugar.
Exactly.
Gotta be careful.
But then you made...
Homemade.
A homemade one.
Not that it's sugar-free by any stretch. I literally took like an internet recipe. It has like maple syrup and... What else is that? I don't remember.
Yeah, but it's not all chemically.
It's not chemically. It is a home organic. Not organic, but it's homemade.
I mean, yeah, you did, like the...
Homemade doesn't make it healthy always, but it makes it probably healthier.
Well, you know
what's
what my homemade is. If it's made in the home, it's homemade.
If it's heated in my oven, it's homemade.
Well, yeah, but like last weekend when Maggie was home, Maggie and I made, I was the sous chef or the sous baker.
I don't know. Maggie, our college-age daughter, yes.
Yes, and she wanted to make these homemade pumpkin bars with the cream cheese frosting.
Which you're like, yes, please.
Oh my goodness, was that like...
Which then, fast forward about 3 days, you're like, you have to get them out of the house. I'm eating them all.
I sent you a text from work, and I said...
All the good, quote-unquote, good food we bought while she was home, like this popcorn and the pumpkin bars, and you're like, oh, I have all this.
Oh, I eat all the good food, too. I just add. Hence,
no,
that's
air
why...
quotes, good food.
Oh.
Not good for you food, just good to eat food.
Yeah,
yes.
But anyways, it was a great visit.
It was. We had a great weekend last weekend with our son up in Chicago with the Cubs game. So good times all around.
Just an update. It seems to be like the children are doing very well.
Knock on wood. For right now, we're in a good place right now.
Yeah,
everything. The wheels are on the bus at the moment.
Yeah,
but they could fall off at any moment, as we all know.
They're not going to fall off though.
No, they may get wobblier as Luke gets flat tires, but anyway, you're not here for family reunion time or bad recipe ideas, but you are here.
Well, you could be. And if you do want the recipe, I'll have to ask Maggie. No, actually, she did send it to me because I think I'm going to make them. Okay.
But as we say, this is the Alcohol-Free Marriage and More, and this week is going to be focusing on some marriage stuff.
But that was the more. That was your
more.
Chit chat there. That was the more. You pay extra for the more.
In case you're not sure when it's more or marriage or alcohol, we'll be sure to tell you. This part is about more. Actually, this part's about subscribe to the podcast, forward this on to your friends. We appreciate everybody who's been doing that. That always helps out the podcast, and we appreciate it. No cost to you, no benefit, no profit to us. Just a nice thing you can do. Feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Just help us out.
And if you're looking for an easy way to kind of kickstart that quit drinking thing, you always go to jointheirside.com and check out our 7 tips that helped us quit that alcohol-free.
It's our 5 o'clock somewhere alcohol-free edition.
And anymore, I just kind of make up a title every time I make it.
I know, but I think it is kind of apropos since Jimmy Buffett just recently passed away.
That was, and we went to Buffett 3 times.
Yeah.
Good times.
And then that kind of brought up a little bit of angst and nostalgia and fading effect bias in my group. Like, all the good times, all the things.
All the good times of drinking at the show.
Which they were good times. They were. But what fading effect bias tends to do to all of us is it tends to just...
I forget that I almost fell into an open pit of a foundation of a house walking back from it.
I wasn't going to mention that, however.
As an example.
And that was a pouring down rain, and here's a group of probably 6 young adults trying to
Yes.
get to their hotel, which they thought was much closer, and it could have gone horribly wrong.
But my
And-
memories of that are more about the times I spent with my friends, not necessarily
Yes.
the drinking part.
And when I think when it goes to, it's also the part you remember. Like
Well, right.
the beginning, the tailgating, those types of things. But as the debauchery continues
Yes.
in the evening, and I would have to say that those hangovers, and that was not fun the next
No.
day.
Well, if you want to address your debauchery habits, as we have, Amy, you have your alcohol-free spirit program kicking out for October.
It's coming up. We are so
Celebrate
excited.
Oktoberfest a little differently this year, kids.
Yeah, take a break.
Tell
Take
us
a
about
break
it,
from
Amy.
alcohol. We have a 6-week program. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but basically,
There should be details in your feed. Either this podcast or back one podcast. You'll see it in your feed.
yes,
There'll be
yes, we're just doing a little mini cast
mini
there
cast
that
about
just
it,
kind
yeah.
of gives you an overview. And if it's not for you, right now, share it with somebody else who might be interested in something different. We are incorporating our faith into it. So, and this is a group. This is basically kind of a small group for women.
For ladies, yes.
And it incorporates our faith as well as the science into all of it. And if you sign up by September 15th, you have a few days left. We are doing $100 off. And then it starts on September 24th, which, by the way, is absolutely kind of freaking me out.
Why?
So I'm like, well, because there's all those back end things you have to do. You have to
Oh,
get
yes.
you got to get everything.
doesn't just
set
magically happen,
up.
does it?
No, you have to get we have a private Facebook group. We have faith talks. And we have what I would say is the biggest thing that sets us apart on our group coaching program is you get 2 coaches, and we have 12 group calls. We have 6 at an evening time, and then we have 6 that are midday. So
You need daily emails with videos,
Daily
right?
yes.
Yeah. So
There's
it's a real program. It's not
it's
just
a lot of content.
resources.
There is. And we have poured our hearts into it. And in that particular little mini cast, we actually go over some of the testimonials that we have received and what people have said, what women have said about our program. So
Check it out. How do I find this, Amy?
you're going to go to joyontheotherside.com. At the top, there is a bar across that says sign up. It's a yellow
miss
bar.
it.
You cannot miss it. So just go there, joyontheotherside.com. It's going to take you to it. So
There you go. There you go. That sounds awesome. Amy, let's talk about our drink of the week. Speaking of October and Sober October, this is probably one of the best years for Sober October I've seen in my history of being sober. Oktoberfest beers, I think last year maybe there was like a pumpkin one or somebody did. That was not awesome, but it was the closest thing you're going to get to an Oktoberfest. This year, I have found 4, yes, count them 4. We're only going to talk about 2 today. 4 legit good Oktoberfests. I think, 4.
yeah.
We have 2 here today. What's yours, Amy?
Mine is the Bravus Brewing Company Oktoberfest, keeping it simple. Very traditional marketing here. The label, it
It does look very Oktoberfesty.
Yeah. Actually, it looks very much like kind of almost like a Illini. It's that blue.
Yeah,
And,
but it has that kind of, I don't know what you call that little pattern, but yeah, it's very, but it's, it has more of your traditional Oktoberfesty flavors, I guess. I don't know if it's they put pumpkin in it or like a pumpkin spice. It's not pumpkin heavy. I will not say that.
No, but it has, like, I think I described it to you. There's whatever the spices that they use in this is very, for me, it tastes like I'm drinking Christmas.
Although it's Oktoberfest.
I know.
Let's keep that in mind.
But I'm,
So,
hey.
so do I need to keep some on hand for Christmas? Because Klaus does have their Santa Claus one. So, but that in my book of the 4 we'll talk about is probably number 4 actually.
For you?
Yeah.
I like it a lot. But again, I love Oktoberfest beer.
True. So this week we're bringing 1 and 4. Next week we'll bring 2 and 3 in my voting.
We should do a blind taste test. We'll pour them into cups.
Actually, speaking of, well, go check out gobrewing.com. You can use our referral link down in the comments.
And get $5
$5
off.
off first order. You can order some of their damn good Oktoberfest, which has the coolest skeleton can. Artwork-wise, they definitely win.
Oh, I would say it is so...
Flavor-wise.
A kebab crane is what I'm thinking.
It has some of the flavors that you have, but just not quite as in your face about it. So, but fantastic October. I actually drove to the brewery to pick this up so I could have it.
This is really good too. This is, you're right. This has, I don't know what it is.
It's very
what
different.
the punch is in this.
Well, Go Brewing's always going to have a finer feel or finer finish to it too. So,
I do like that.
Pick it up at Go Brewing,
and it's fun. I love the can.
Yes.
I don't want to cover up the can. I don't even want to pour that into a glass because I like the can.
And their grapefruit IPA is now officially out of beta. It is grapefruit IPA. It's called sour something punch. I don't know, but it's their grapefruit IPA. Is going to be around for good, which is not surprising because it's always sold out. But those are 2 solid Oktoberfest to kick off your sober October.
Even though we're in sober September.
True. Bravus, I know we can find in the store. Go Brewing, you probably have to order offline, but you get that $5 off your first order. So check it out.
Check it out. Check it out. Check it out.
All right, Coach Amy, let's talk about some marriage things that we've been learning in our marriage class. But before we get deep into that, you had a conversation or a topic that came up with something about, like quitting drinking, will make it like my marriage will be perfect. Or, if we both quit drinking, it'll solve all of our problems. And we just kind of want to address the fact that it won't hurt. There's benefits, right? I mean, drinking and being married can cause challenges.
Absolutely. And I think
but it won't fix everything.
One of the things is, I think it's this...
Sorry, because the point was like,
well, I think no.
Are we like the perfect we quit drinking and our marriage is perfect?
Like this ideal. And I want to just say, everybody, we are not. If you,
yeah, this is perfect. While the bar was set low.
Yeah. Now, with that being said, I would have to say, like, things when you quit drinking, you have to really, as the person who's quitting drinking, some couples do it together. Which
we didn't.
We did not do that. But I want to just say that when you quit, you have to stay. I've said this before. You have to stay in your own lane. You have to work on you. Yep. What is it? The whole, like when you're in the airplane and if the
put your oxygen mask on first.
Put it on first. And I will say, I will honestly, our relationship did improve even with me just quitting drinking.
True story. True story.
We started to connect more. And I think that was just one of the positives. Now, I was also quitting for me with you. I mean, there were all of those thoughts of, am I going to lose him? I mean, I was married previously, and I've said this before. I honestly had kind of psyched myself up that, well, I can't do this anymore when I was feeling like this. I don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And dear God, I hope that this doesn't end in divorce.
Right.
And just me saying that makes me feel so sad that having a beer or drinking could...
And it's, substances does that.
Yeah, that it could end your relationship. So...
but if you both quit, let's just say you do both quit.
Oh, yeah.
But if you don't work, and that's why we're talking about some of these marriage-related topics, because even if you do both quit... If you still have a dysfunctional marriage or you still have challenges in your marriage, those arguments, those disagreements, those things that you're not working on, well, A, want to probably drive you back to drinking, but B,
they come out.
Don't get solved by quitting drinking.
No.
Some of them clear up or get better because maybe you're less of an a-hole when you're not drinking. I don't know. But it's not a miracle cure for a marriage.
And it doesn't automatically, because a lot of us are drinking to avoid our feelings.
Right.
We don't want to talk, or we're either a people pleaser and we've depleted ourselves.
Between our pleaser and avoider tendencies,
we were
bad.
just completely like, okay, I've given to the world everything I got. All I want is a drink.
Yes.
Or I don't want to address this subject, topic, whatever it is,
Right.
I want to drink.
Right.
So I think that is something that people just need to be aware of. And really, whenever we take away the substance, that's when the real work starts.
Yep.
And encouraging everyone that if you do that and you're sober curious and you do get into that, just look at the world and look at life as an experiment. Look at it as an experiment. Okay, let's see. Well, what are we going to do here? Putting on that mindset of curiosity and like, okay, well, we're going to go do this event.
It's an experiment.
It's an experiment.
Your methodology pulled from Annie Grace's methodology and your alcohol-free spirit methodology. It's an experiment. If you fall down, it's okay. Mm-hmm. You may, but you don't learn by not trying. Mm-hmm. But I want to get on the marriage side, right? If you're drinking or if you're not drinking, over the time, I think drinking probably makes these worse. We run these things called slow fades, Amy. Do you want to tell us what slow fades are?
Well, the slow fades in marriage, this is something that has been, our marriage coaches, Jill and Mark Savage, wrote about in their book, No More Perfect Marriages.
And they had 8, now they're up to 11. They've added some.
And there are the slow fades, and there's 11 total. We're not going to go into them, but the slow fade is basically, it's something that just happens. Like you're doing the right things are happening, okay, but you're slowly pulling away, and you don't even really realize it a lot of the time. And for us, out of that group,
we picked a couple.
We picked 2 that really we feel like kind of...
I think these are pretty popular, might not be the right word, but common.
Common, yeah. I think all of them can be there.
Some of them are probably a little more niche or...
But I would say with our drinking, this really was happening. Like the slow fade, the first one is slow fade of avoiding emotion. And, you have this guarded heart. You're not in tune with your emotions, and you want to keep your partner at arm's length. And when we do that, we are trying to we're avoiding connection and intimacy. And I would have to say with that, I think this was definitely, I've said this before, is like, we have our 2 chairs and we were sitting there and drinking by ourselves, sitting 2 feet apart.
Drinking together, but completely alone.
But avoiding
right.
the emotional connection that we both wanted,
right,
but didn't know how to really ask. And some
of that just comes down to having and I think having, not to put this all on the children, but having kids in a family, you get busy and it just takes a back burner.
Oh, and you get exhausted.
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't have time to have a deep conversation with you about this.
And sometimes you're just like, I don't want to.
No. And it's funny because we focused a lot, on our relationship, I think, because we knew we would be empty nesters one day, which that's a whole podcast on its own. But I don't know. We probably, I wish we'd done this years ago because we could have worked on some of these things more along the road, right? Until
I think we could have
some of this I realized because we're doing the coaching, but also because being empty nesters was like, oh, we don't talk about these things. Not that there's bad things. It's just things get better and understanding improves.
Yeah. I think that's it. But I think it would have been, and we can still model this for our kids, but
right.
But it would have been really nice to be able to model some of this for our children as well, to help them have better communication skills. But the one thing that you want to, if you are in this avoiding emotion phase, one of the ways that you can kind of bridge that gap or start the conversation is actually asking your spouse or your significant other or anybody really, what do you need from me in this moment?
Yep. And something related to that we saw that I shared with you, if you get into somebody's sharing an emotion, and this is probably really good for guys because they want to fix things. You ask, do you want understanding or listening, understanding, or do you want a solution? So do you want me to...
No, comfort.
Comfort, yeah. Comfort or a solution.
Yeah.
So do you want me to just listen to you and comfort you and be like, understand, like, oh, okay, you just want to vent? Or are you looking for me to actually...
Do you want a solution? Hey, let's sit down. Let's brainstorm. Let's do this.
Because when you're talking about these emotional words, it's like, well, I just want to,
I love that. I'm so glad that you brought that up because that is also, I think, a key. Whenever we ask a question of somebody else and say, hey, you know what, I want to share this with you. I know, I think I have that tendency too, to want to go in and fix.
Especially with kids, with your kids, And these things can apply to your children too.
Oh,
so.
absolutely. But it's just like, okay, how can I go in? What are we going to do? Let's do the steps. What are we going to, and
that's I think that's part of the pleaser in us, right? We're like, the avoider doesn't want to talk about the emotion because if the emotion comes up, then our pleaser wants to fix it, but that's not always necessarily the need. And that's where the question of what do you need from me or asking the person proactively, do you want comfort or a solution is helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah. There you go. I didn't have a very good transition, did I? The other one we want to talk about, and we'll probably talk about other ones later in another episode, but is the slow fade of assumptions, Amy. So you start telling yourself stories about your spouse, and you act on like as if they're true, and it's almost like that. Why aren't you reading my mind? Or like, you would think that they would, or that they should know, or I'd assume.
Well, and with this, when you're drinking, when you're drinking and you have anxiety because of the drinking, like being a daily drinker, that you start to create these stories even more.
Right.
Like because the anxiety.
Or you don't remember what you even said, so you're making an assumption on something you never did.
But even on like that, when you've got this narrative, because your brain is always it's always telling you a story about everything. So when your brain's constantly telling you a story because you're wanting to figure out the world at all times, you start to create stories around that. Well, why did he say that? Does he think this? I mean, and the catastrophizing, like I can go, oh, well, what did he say? Did he mean something by that? What did I do wrong?
Right.
Well, and then
assuming intent.
You start going down, and then you start to assume. And I did this a lot. I would be like, oh, well, he's mad. What did I remember early on in our marriage? That's why I really wish we I'm going to bed asleep. Me just tossing and turning and trying to figure, oh, well, he must mean this. Well, if he's not going to do this, then I'm not going to do this. And having
you think they know I'd want this done this way or that way.
And having all of this argument with you in my head, and it's just so counterproductive, and it's not true.
Right.
9 times out of 10, when I have come to you and said, hey, this happened, and maybe I don't even know what example, but hey, this happened, and I was really upset that you did that, and when you do things like that really make blah blah blah, and you're like, I had no idea that you were feeling this. I just wanted to.
I was trying to do A, and you took it as B.
I just picked up this and moved it. I mean, what are you trying to, it's almost like, okay, maybe I had a project or a mess.
What?
I know. What are those doom piles?
Doom piles all over, yes.
And you would come up and you've moved it. And then I start to assume all of this judgment about this silly pile of stuff that I really...
But does it become like a reflection on you?
Yes. I start thinking that, well, it becomes this personal thing.
He's messing with my stuff. Oh, but now it's a reflection on, is he saying I'm messy? Mm-hmm. Oh, I assume he means I'm messy, and he thinks I'm messy, and, well, he's messy too, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's...
Yeah. And that was just everything in my brain. I mean, and so
but some of the conversations we have now of like, hey, this is bothering me. Like, your doom piles, where I was like, can we narrow down the doom piles? Can we do, like... but it's not like, hey, the pile's bothering me. It gets to the feeling of it causes me anxiety when I see this, and this. And then we talk about, okay, well, what if we did this? Or maybe you need to get over it. Not in that so many terms, but it's like, because you ask me back, it's like, well, but.
Because sometimes, like, I have certain things.
Does the house have to be perfect 100% all the time?
No. And looking at, like, I just recently was listening, I think it was Mel Robbins' podcast.
Probably.
I think. Yeah, probably. But she was interviewing a therapist on, the cycles of things getting done in your home. Like, there's always going to be laundry to do. There's a cycle that you're going through it. And
it's never done.
No. And just like washing dishes and keeping that, it's all, and it was just a really fascinating podcast about why some of us can load up dishwashers, get it all done a proper way that we think, but then we close it and we're like, we don't unload. Or
Right.
and there's all this science around it with like the ADHD brain and how we like to do things. But it's also, like I do have piles and I know what's in these piles. And I've also done the whole thing where I've also sometimes just said, okay, I know that there is stuff in these that I need to throw away, but I'm letting go of that right now and I will come back and address it. And we did recently do some of that where
Right.
I literally, and all I needed from you in that sense was I wanted you to be available. So as I'm sorting, I can ask you, is this important? No.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's the problem. Is all that becomes two people.
Yeah. And so going through that, we were able within like a couple of hours to go through some little areas and be like, oh, that's all. And honestly, some of that stuff, it's done now.
Right.
Because high school is over.
True. That's made it easier.
It is. I don't have to hang on to these different passwords, which I can tell you I would have never. Well, I think I did have to look one of them up one time, but
I think that all plays into that power of assumptions period of anything around the house. And I think that Mel Robbins podcast pointed out something great of, use laundry as an example. Oh, we have a bunch of laundry. Well, I mean, I assume that means she doesn't, she's not doing it. Why isn't she doing it? She should know I want the laundry done, or vice versa. Or why isn't he done it? Or why is he folded? Why is it not put away? And she had a good point. And the person she was interviewing is like, instead of looking and saying, oh, I'm messy, or I'm that person's lazy because they didn't do it, assuming that. Look at, oh, they didn't get their laundry done because they've been enjoying life and doing other things.
yeah, like we were gone this weekend.
Yeah.
So the laundry isn't done. It's, typically we would have it done and be ready for the week to start. But we spent, Saturday in Chicago enjoying that day.
Right.
And therefore we have laundry to do now. And that's okay. That just says that we have a busy, full life.
Yep.
I think that was so awesome to hear that. It's like, no, you have these different things. Because why? Because you have a busy, full life. Yes. Does it need to be, you also do deserve to have like clean clothes and some clean dishes and things like that. But when things get to a point where it's like an overwhelm, just do what like I think the therapist said, just go get yourself an outfit and throw it in the wash and you've got an outfit. Because sometimes overwhelm it can take you out.
Right.
Depending on that stage
and
of life you're in.
Overwhelm can feed anxiety, and the anxiety can feed the desire to want to have a drink, and then you're
and have a drink. And I'm telling you, don't have the
Guess
drink.
what? You can get hammered, and that laundry's still going to be there.
And the alcohol, I know in those cycles from personally, it just intensifies all of it.
Yep.
It intensifies that anxiety, the overwhelm. So when you take that out, I will tell you, for me, when I took that away, it was like, oh, I can do a lot of this stuff and not be completely stressed out.
You can, Amy.
I can.
You definitely can. Or you could choose to pay $15 for a beer at the baseball game.
We did not do that.
It's funny, when you quit drinking and you go to events, when you're not dying to have an alcoholic drink, when you're like, well, it's expensive, but I really want it, I don't care. Your perspective changes. You're like, what? I'm spending $15 on
the sober baseball game. Fun for us.
Oh yes.
I mean, but I did get to, I think, see maybe my past
yourself
ghost
in hindsight.
Maybe a couple, and it's like, oh.
She's like the future version of Amy, past, future, or was I don't know.
Well, it's just
like the ghost of Amy past.
just on the you have friends who are together, and I can now definitely pick that out. It's like, okay, you have the two friends who are having fun and having a couple of drinks.
They're not drinking; they're sipping.
And then you have the friend who doesn't have the off switch, and that was
clearly
me.
I told you should just hand her your card. I'm like, you may not need this now, but call me in 5 years.
But no judgment here. No. I just hope that they made it home.
The best is when she
safely.
FaceTimed her mom, and her mom hung up on her because she was drunk at a baseball game. She goes, I don't know why she hung up on me.
No, the best was when she asked me if I wasn't busy and if I would take their picture.
If you're
and
not
I
busy,
gladly took their
you
picture.
Did, yes.
I
funny
did.
that-
Because I was, you know what? I just extending that grace to them because...
If you're not busy, well, I'm doing the same thing you are. I'm watching a game, so I guess I'm not busy.
It was, you know what? Those things used to irritate me. They do not anymore. They do not irritate me.
It was actually just a little entertainment between innings, to be honest. But
yeah, so...
You know, and we have children that age too, so some of the things they were talking about my dad is getting mad because I'm using his credit card to pay for my Ubers. I'm like, yeah, I probably would too, kid. I agree with your dad because I'm old.
Mm-hmm.
All right, kids. Well,
yeah.
Don't forget to check out jointheirside.com. You can get a one-on-one coaching with Coach Amy. You can check out the alcohol-free spirit coming up for Sober October, kicking off at the end of this month. Get that $100 off if you sign up here before the 15th. And other than that, we will see you next week. Check out the little sub-mini podcast that talks more about the alcohol-free spirit.
And if you need anything, reach out to either one of us. I mean, we're here. If you're sober curious, you're just wanting to find out a little bit more.
Talk longer than the end music class, that happens too. All right, kids. Well, that must be a sign that it is for us for this week.
Right.
You would think this had alcohol in it. All right. Wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. I'm Matt, along with Coach Amy, and we are out.